need to leave. We can only take what we can carry. Everything
Hello,
else
everybody.
needs to be left behind. They're closing
Live
off this area
broadcast.
that you're seeing. I'm gonna get off the air now and escort out, and I will get back on with you when I can, Whit.
Rachel, thank you again for your reporting, and we're so glad that you and the rest of the team are safe. Again, this is that video. This is that moment. Former President Trump pumping his fist to the cheers of the crowd there in Butler, Pennsylvania. I do want to mention again, because this was all coming at an event in Pennsylvania that was supposed to come before the Republican National Convention. All eyes on the former president about his potential running mate. That decision was expected any day now, and we're hearing from some of these hopefuls. VP hopeful Senator J.D. Vance took to X calling for people to pray for Trump and everyone at the rally. He says, quote, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone there. I hope everyone is okay." We also heard from Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who is also on the short list to be a potential running mate. He tweeted, quote, "Praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today." Let's go back to John Carl in Milwaukee. John, we're still getting some of these photographs coming in. Are you getting any more information about what actually happened?
I know more information on what happened. I can tell you that officials here are scrambling to find out more. You mentioned that this comes as Trump is preparing. I mean, that the event there in Pennsylvania was to be the event leading into the convention. What was happening just moments before this news broke out was officials scrambling to try to gauge what former President Trump's timing would be into announcing his running mate, with a bit of a scramble that he might do it, in fact, at that event in Pennsylvania. Look, we've now heard, you mentioned hearing from J.D. Vance, hearing from Marco Rubio. We've also heard from Doug Burgum. So we've officially heard from all three of the people who were just with Donald Trump, waiting to hear his final decision about which one of them will be his running mate, all going to X to say that they are praying, for former President Trump and for everybody at the rally, but not knowing what actually has happened, not knowing, what has actually happened besides what we saw there in that incredibly horrifying video, hearing shots fired and former President Trump being brought down by Secret Service agents.
All right, John, stand by for us. We are getting some reportable information here from our producer, Josh Margolan. He is saying
hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me.
They have not confirmed it was actual shots or any kind. Unclear where what appeared to be blood in that photograph is coming from. So if we show that photograph again, this was sort of the close-up of former President Trump as he was being escorted off the stage. There it is. Again, it appears to be blood, but we cannot say for sure exactly what happened, if that came from a shot fired, which we don't know, or if it came from when he was tackled to the ground. But we did see the former president reach for his right ear as the chaos unfolded at that event in Pennsylvania. Once again, this was supposed to come right before the announcement for his potential running mate pick. Many people were watching this event very closely to see what would happen. Would he give any hints? Would there be any teases about who he might choose to be his running mate as we head towards Election Day? Again, all of that stopped abruptly by this chaotic moment at this rally in Pennsylvania. Let's bring in John Santucci, investigative reporter. And John, you're very close contacts with the Trump family. What reaction are you getting from them? What are they saying about what happened tonight?
It is absolute panic within Donald Trump's inner circle right now, frankly, because the lack of information. As you mentioned right there to our viewers, Donald Trump has spent much of the weekend talking to potential vice presidential picks. Much of his family is not with the former president right now, but I can tell you, from speaking to at least the president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., they do not know what has happened at Pennsylvania, and they are trying to find information. And that image, I can tell you, multiple sources are telling me it is caused a great deal of panic. Obviously, as you mentioned, ABC News does not know exactly what happened at the rally, but that image of what appears to be blood running down the president's face has caused significant alarm. And look, we should note with it, Donald Trump, for many years when he was campaigning, I know in 2016, from his first campaign for the White House, always took extra precautions. You know, life has talked so greatly about the Secret Service feeling protected, having them around him. You know, when he, of course, started his campaign before Secret Service protection, if we reported at the time, Donald Trump wore a bulletproof vest. You know, he was very, very cautious about his safety. So I think just the fact right now that there is this panic right now in Trump world because of that lack of information. I think as we are telling our viewers, we are trying to figure out in real time. It seems as though the president's inner circle, much of which, again, I should stress, is not with him in Pennsylvania. They are over in Milwaukee or making their way to the site of the convention which, as you well know, happening beginning in less than 48 hours.
And John, also, as you know, and you've talked about over the years, Donald Trump thrives on these massive rallies. This is a hallmark of his campaigns, and it's been that way for years. The more the merrier. I mean, he'll pack tens of thousands of people into a venue, and I've been to them before. You've been to many of them. Security is extremely tight. It is hard to imagine, something like this playing out at an event like that. Talk about some of the security precautions that you're aware of at events like this one.
I went to every rally Donald Trump held in 2015 and 2016. I know Rachel's on the ground right now for ABC at this event, but I can tell you from any one of these rallies, Secret Service is intense. Everybody is going through a magnetometer. Think about when you go to the airport. Anybody that has a bag, your bag is inspected. If you have any liquids, they sometimes would make you pour them out, almost like boarding an airplane. That's what everybody at home should be thinking about right now with these rallies. It is so secure. And we must remember, too, Whit, Donald Trump is unique in the sense that he has had Secret Service protection since the late 2015, early 2016, even before he became the Republican nominee in that contest. Now, here, in this situation, he has protection for two reasons. One, being the presumptive Republican nominee, but obviously as a former president, he has those protections too with. So everything that you can imagine for the Secret Service right now is one, evaluating how this could have happened, but also, let's be clear, we've been talking about how close we are to the election, but there is still such a significant amount of time to go. And you have to imagine now, both for campaigns led by Donald Trump and for President Joe Biden's campaign. Look, these are events that both men have to be doing consistently for the next several weeks and months leading up to November. You have to imagine, as tight as security is at these events already, this is going to cause a massive reevaluation with.
All right, John Santucci for us. Thank you so much. I do want to go back to Rachel Scott because Rachel was inside the venue. She was reporting for us right here on World News Tonight. Then we got the reports of this incident. Rachel stayed with us for a while and then was escorted outside the venue. Forgive me one more time. My producer's talking in my ear. What was that? We do have a statement from the Trump campaign right now. Bear with me. I'm seeing this for the first time. We're told that President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. Again, that's from a Trump spokesperson. If we can go back to Rachel Scott. Rachel, I think you've been escorted outside. What are you seeing right now?
We're still in the process of actually making our way outside of this rally. At these rallies, there's so many people that oftentimes we don't get enough cell phone signal. And so now we have moved past one perimeter and one area. Now we are moving out to where we came in. We're passing by different areas where they were checking us in. At this point, we're with a number of Trump supporters who are also trying to leave this area. Secret Service is trying to clear this scene so they can continue investigating exactly what happened during this rally. And so we are clearing out now. We're heading back to our vehicles among, I say, at least 100 or so Trump supporters who are also making their way out. I will tell you just candidly, talking to Trump supporters as they were leaving, and people were waiting around asking what happened. People were checking on each other, asking if they were okay. You did have people that dove to the floor, that shielded themselves, put their hands over their head, were trying to cover their loved ones when they heard those popping noises. And so people were visibly enough, so it's understandable that some of the people wanted to hang back a little bit just to gather themselves before they eventually moved out. So Secret Service is now pushing all of these people back toward their vehicles right now to completely clear this area, and still just a very chaotic scene that is still playing out here just right where the former president's rally was.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Let's go back to John Carl again in Milwaukee ahead of the Republican National Convention. But, John, you also have a statement from the Secret Service here with just a little bit more detail about what may have happened.
A little bit. This is a statement from the spokesperson for the Secret Service saying an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures, and the former president is safe. The former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation and further information. So we have now the word from a Trump campaign spokesperson and from the Secret Service that Donald Trump is okay. But let me tell you, this is exactly the type of incident that has had the Secret Service worried for a long time. The threat environment, as we heard in an interview with the head of the Secret Service just a short while ago on This Week, the threat environment is as bad as it has been. Obviously, we hear it in the divisive rhetoric in this country, the deep divisions, but the threats, the actual threats, are as high as they have ever seen it. And at a time when the Secret Service is stretched thin. I mean, this has been an ongoing issue. There were investigations, the congressional investigations that go back to the second half of the Obama administration, warning about the Secret Service and the challenges it is facing in terms of personnel, overtime, demands, the environment being as high as it is. So this is the kind of thing that frankly, security personnel, Secret Service has been worried about with every public event that happens in this campaign. Not just the Trump rallies, the events involving family, and the events involving the current president of the United States, President Biden.
And John, and it's not just the Secret Service when it comes to these events. And you can see it as we're looking at some of this video play out. You have the Secret Service crowding around the former president, obviously like a human shield protecting him. But then you have law enforcement officers from different agencies. We see some in tactical gear that are always at these events ready to go, and how they're responding. And it just really highlights the chaos of the moment as these officers with long guns on the stage are looking around, pointing the guns out into the crowd, not knowing what's going on. And to your point, you've reported on this. I mean, going back to January 6th and beyond, this idea that the threat level is so heightened right now with the division and polarization that we're seeing politically.
And we're still getting more information in, and we have heard now from the White House poll that President Biden has received an initial briefing on exactly what happened, or at least what they've learned about what happened there in Pennsylvania. But yes, you pointed out the Secret Service takes the lead in terms of protecting the president, protecting the president's family, in this case, the former president and the former president's family. But they have to coordinate with a whole range of law enforcement. And it's a very, tricky, it's a very difficult environment. But those Secret Service agents, I've gotten to know them over my years in covering the White House, gotten to know them so well. They take very seriously their duty, and as you know, it's not a cliche. It is the ethic that drives their work. That they are there to take a bullet for the president. They are there to protect the president at all costs. They are there to do whatever they can. So when you see, now we don't know if there were shots fired, what it was, but their job is to get between the president and the danger, and that's what you saw take place on live television there in Pennsylvania.
John, thank you. Let's go to the White House and bring back Mary Alice Parks. You mentioned that President Biden has been briefed on the incident. Mary Alice, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, when I just got off the phone with a spokesperson for the National Security Council, of course, they are worried about this as a national security incident. We know that the president now has been He was leaving church, but is now back at his residence there in Delaware. We can say that, of course, he is tracking this with his senior advisors that are traveling with him. They are trying to learn what happened, too. They are, of course, in touch with their Secret Service agents, the Secret Service, and like John Carl was just saying, we now officially know that the president has been briefed and is tracking this closely. It was we haven't been able to get a formal statement beyond that at this point, but I expect we will pretty soon, not only from the White House, but likely from the Biden campaign.
Mary Alice, thanks. And just a reminder to our viewers here, if you are just you're seeing this video play out, all of this happening at a rally for former President Trump in BUTLER, Pennsylvania. This is the moment the chaos played out. Witnesses describe loud popping sounds, and this is that moment when the former president reaches for his ear. People in the crowd start to duck. The Secret Service pounces on the former president, shielding him with their bodies, essentially, in case anything, a projectile could hit the former president. At this point, they finally get him to his feet. They bring him off the stage. It's still unclear exactly what those popping sounds were. We don't have any confirmation specifically what happened. We're waiting on that. In the meantime, we did get these photographs of the former president holding his right ear and what appeared to be blood trickling down his face. Again, not clear that's the photograph, not clear if that's from the incident itself or afterwards as the Secret Service tried to rush him off the stage. We're still waiting to get more information, but still a dramatic moment as it played out at this rally in Pennsylvania. Let's go back to Rachel Scott. Rachel was there when it happened. She was live on World News moments before. And then, Rachel, I know that you've been escorted out. Take us to sort of where you've been taken at this venue and what you can see now.
So right now, we're not far from where this rally took place. So stick with me here. I want to give you just sort of a lay of the land here. So right where those porta parties are, and you see the flag that's hanging there, that is where the rally occurred. You see these white tents. We talked a little about security. You asked me what the security precautions are. When Trump supporters come to these rallies, they are checked. They go through their bags, they go through metal detectors, they are screened by Secret Service. Right now you have members of Trump that were in this Trump rally that are leaving right along here, that are being escorted sort of out of this area so that they can tighten this area off. I can tell you, we were inside, we were live on the air with you, and Secret Service asked everyone to leave. So we had, as press, to leave everything that we could on the riser. We're now being pushed a little bit further out, but just stay with me here. We're just gonna keep walking. We had to leave our cameras inside, so our producer, Layli Ipsa, is filming as we're walking and being escorted out of this rally. So just stick with us here. Just chaotic, intense moments that played out here, and just the sense of panic that we heard, screams from people that were hearing these popping sounds, and then ultimately got down for cover. Now this area is sort of being cleared out, but this was the way in which you had Trump supporters enter this rally before they were screened. I can tell you just hours ago, this was filled with long lines of people waiting to get in, people who are excited to see the former president. Right now you have people that are just confused, that are in a state of panic, that are wondering sort of what happened and what unfolded. I will also note it's an extremely hot day here in Pennsylvania. You had a number of people that felt like they were already being overheated, so much so that the seats toward the front of the rally were actually prioritized for those who felt like they needed to take a seat, or those who were elderly, or those who felt like the conditions were just getting too much for them. As we were on the airway, you saw the scene as I took you through it. You saw those chairs being toppled over. That was a sign of just how much panic there was in the moment, with people just trying to get to the ground. But for now, here is what I can tell you. We've cleared out of this area. We know that Secret Service has roped it off. This has now just become a gathering point for people that were in the rally. As I mentioned to you before, there's so many people that are inside of these rallies that oftentimes the cell phone reception isn't really great. So we see a lot of people that are out here that are on the phones, probably connecting with their loved ones and families, letting them know that they're okay, letting them know they're probably leaving this area as well. But this is the current scene right now. We've been escorted out. We were told to leave everything there for now, and we were told that we'd be able to go back inside to gather the rest of our belongings once police have cleared the area.
Rachel, first of all, we are so glad you and your team are okay, and your reporting has just been excellent throughout this entire campaign, and especially tonight as well. Tell us a little bit more about what happened in the crowd. You described this a moment earlier, but we have some new viewers likely joining our coverage. You said that after those popping sounds occurred, that it did appear the law enforcement rushed a specific area or person in the crowd?
Yeah, so it was this sort of split screen that we saw play out with. First, initially, we heard this series of popping noises. Then we heard screams from the crowd, people shouting, "Get down, get down." We were on the press riser. We had just finished doing World News Tonight with you, Whit. We were live on the air. And just minutes after the former president took the stage, this is when all of this happened. He had only been on the stage for a matter of minutes. So you hear these popping noises. And then after that, what we hear were screams. We all looked, turned over our shoulders, of course. We see Secret Service agents swarm the former president. They rush and shield him, essentially, using their bodies as shields to get the former president down. Also, then, if I'm standing on the riser, it was over my right shoulder. What we saw was then Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials swarm another area that was on the riser. And there we saw, I'm not sure if it was one person, I'm not sure if it was multiple persons, but what we saw was Secret Service and law enforcement agents swarm that area in particular and then escort someone out of that area. So we have no idea necessarily what exactly happened during that time. We know that there were people that were just getting down during that moment, and there were screams. Then it took several minutes. First, we saw the former president being rushed out. Obviously, what we saw was the former president. You've seen those images. He stood up. He put his fist up, and it was a sign and signal that he was okay. The crowd then cheered. And then after the former president was rushed into his own vehicle, and that vehicle was taken away, then we saw that separate area clear, where Secret Service agents and law enforcement agents had surrounded possibly another individual, and that person was then taken away. It was only then did we start to see the crowd sort of clear. And there was this sort of moment where people didn't necessarily know what exactly to do, whether or not it was safe to leave. People were looking around, asking if it was okay. We're hearing helicopter right now. You can see it there that's taking off right now. Then we saw law enforcement officials that came out. They started putting crime scene tape to rope off that area. Members of the press, we were sort of the last ones that were escorted out and told to leave. We were told to leave everything behind, but there were certainly these moments where people were just very confused, didn't know exactly what happened, and were rushing to just sort of exit the area as Secret Service and law enforcement officials were trying to block off the area.
All right, Rachel Scott for us again with those remarkable moments as they played out. These images as well, with the former president pumping his fist, what appears to be, again, we're not sure, can't confirm, what appears to be blood dripping down his face, and the cheers of the crowd as Donald Trump got back up onto his feet and was then led away by the Secret Service. Let's bring in our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, who's been watching all of this. And Pierre, time and time again, you've been talking about the political threat level, the environment in this country for months. Again, still a lot of information that we're waiting to get here, Pierre. But talk about what your law enforcement sources are telling you. And we're also getting more information about the former president's condition.
Indeed. I've talked to a number of sources, and one thing that they're fairly comfortable saying is that they do not believe that former President Trump sustained any sort of life-threatening injury. They are being very careful about what they can release until they can get a more full accounting. Officials in Washington reaching out to the authorities there. We're told that the White House has been briefed. President Biden has been briefed. The Homeland Security Secretary is waiting additional information as well. So right now, law enforcement is converging, trying to get information because, as you said, with the threat environment right now is critically high. Law enforcement super worried about the potential of violence, and they're being careful right now because they don't have all the details. But that has been in the backdrop for days now. Security for the conventions will be super high, in part because of concerns about incidents like this, whatever this turns out to be.
Pierre, to your point, it's worth pointing out this response that we got from a Trump spokesperson, too, because they said that President Trump, after thanking law enforcement and first responders, they called it a heinous act. But they did say that the former president is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. Pierre Thomas, stand by for us. I want to go back to John Carl. John, I understand you're getting word from the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yes, we're getting a wide range of reaction. And before I get to that, I just want to reiterate, playing off of what Pierre just said, the statement that we heard from the Secret Service very important because this is the bottom line here. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. So yes, no life-threatening wounds. The former president is safe. That's what we're hearing from the Secret Service. That's what we're hearing from the Trump campaign. We are also hearing from the governor of Pennsylvania, who, by the way, is a Democrat, the Governor Josh Shapiro. He's been briefed on the situation as the governor where this all took place, and he has put out a statement saying violence targeted at any political party or political any political party is absolutely unacceptable. It has no place in Pennsylvania or in the United States. By the way, we're hearing from several others in the political world. Democratic Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, saying violence has no place in our democracy. My thoughts are with President Trump. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, another Democrat. There's no place for political violence in this country. I am horrified. Bipartisan statements of concern for former President Trump and condemning whatever has happened here. Steve Scalise, this one's also interesting as you remember, Congressman Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican in the House, himself was shot at a practice for a congressional baseball game 7 years ago, sustained very serious injuries, was really touch and go for some time. Put out a statement saying, I'm praying for President Donald Trump. There is never any place for political violence. So as you can see, across the political spectrum, condemnations of whatever has happened here, concerns for the former president, and the bottom line, former President Trump, by all indications, is now safe and no life-threatening injuries here.
And John, can I follow up on that? Because I do think that the wording here is interesting from the various statements that we're getting. That statement saying the former president is safe. The Trump spokesperson saying the former president is fine. What they're not saying here is that he was not hurt or injured in any way. Again, we're still waiting for these details coming in. We're trying to kind of, read between the lines here, and we don't want to speculate, but you work with the Trump campaign all the time and communicating with them. What does that say to you about this level of communication right now?
Look at all the people commenting on the video. Woo, they're running. All the people commenting.
That we're speaking
a lot
to
of people
basically doing exactly what we're trying
Welcome
to do
to the Vote Excel. Thank you for your time.
And in a situation like this, the first priority for the Secret Service is to make sure the president is safe, to get him to safety, and then to treat him. Their first priority is not getting us information. So we've gotten the very basic information, which is that he is safe. They have implemented further protective measures, and that the injuries here are not life-threatening. But beyond that, we just don't know. And frankly, I think even those very close to Donald Trump at this point are trying to get further detail about exactly what happened and how he's doing.
All right, John Carl.
Oh, so he grabbed his ear. So he felt his ear before they
John, you were with us.
took him down.
What more are you learning tonight?
So let's go there. Because that's been the speculation so far, what actually happened. Naturally, CIA is not speaking. But as you see in that last clip, he grabbed his ear before they even touched him. So that's obvious. Something snipped his ear for him to even touch his ear. So something hit his ear before Secret Service even pounced him. So I don't think he got injured from them taking him down to the ground. If you go back, you can replay. Thank you for joining me.
So right now, what I can tell you is that members of Donald Trump's family, so far as I understand it, have not spoken to the former president directly, according to my sources. They have been receiving calls and updates from people that were on the ground with the former president, and also, I'm told, received briefings from the Secret Service. Remember, these are, in some cases, as we were talking about earlier with John Carl, the fact that Donald Trump has had Secret Service protection for so many years, so many of these agents have been around the former president, his children, for nearly a decade. So there is a very close relationship, and I do think that's part of the reason why the family has been getting such, up-to-minute information, if you will. I can also tell you that for the most part, there is a bit of a sigh of relief, if you will, in the sense that everyone is being told that same words. fine. Of course, that image causing alarm that many people within Donald Trump's inner orbit that were not physically with him. I do think that's really important, as we spoke about earlier, this is a rally that normally many close allies, many members of the president's family usually join him for these big events. But of course, so many of them are either getting ready to or already on the ground out in Milwaukee preparing for the start of the Republican convention. I will just say a little bit, because I think it's important, and you and I talked about this earlier, as much as Donald Trump loves this rally, I have been told by sources for the last week, Donald Trump has been in one of the best moods of late, and it's in part because of all the speculation and attention that this rally is getting, because this was the rally with, as you know, we reported at one point, it was possible that Donald Trump was going to reveal his vice presidential pick. Now, of course, that didn't happen because of what happened on site, but I also can tell you that Donald Trump has said he wanted to keep this grand reveal to Monday when the convention was beginning. But nevertheless, I do just think it speaks to the president's state of mind going into this rally. We know from all of our years of covering Donald Trump, these are the events he loves the most. He thrives off of the crowds, the audiences. He'll often say he yells at the fire commissioner to let more people in. But nevertheless, we must stress these events are so guarded by the Secret Service, and anybody that is going through screening. But I think that you are going to have to imagine, even for Donald Trump, who takes his own personal security very, with a prized possession, very careful, always listening to the Secret Service. I would be very curious, of course, now into those reports and what I'm hearing from my sources that he's fine, how a Donald Trump rally changes going forward. And, I was reminded by a colleague of ours there have been scares before at rallies of Donald Trump. People have yelled things. I was at a rally once, almost positive it was in Las Vegas, where someone yelled gun, and the president, at that time, candidate Trump, was rushed off stage in 2016. But never have we seen something like this that has caused such a scare, such an alarm for the former president and his family.
Yeah, regardless of what happened here, as we're watching these images come through, they are quite remarkable and frightening, given the political environment that we've been in lately. Let's go back to the White House, because Mary Alice Parks, I understand you're getting word from...
I want to stop here for just a second. I don't know why these people keep going on and on about Secret Service, him having tight security, they're vetting everyone coming in. Well, obviously not. Okay? I don't know why they keep repeating this, because it doesn't make sense to keep saying it. It defeats the purpose in saying it if a person was injured. It doesn't make any sense. You can't keep going on and on saying he has tight security. He had tight security before running for political office. They check everybody, purse, metal detectors. Okay, but did it occur to you that maybe somebody in the venue brought a weapon in? The weapon was already there. Did you check every corner, crevice? Because something hit the ear, and that's the point. So everything and everyone could not have been vetted. That makes no sense to keep saying it over and over. To me, it doesn't make, it's illogical to keep saying that on and on and on. What type of security he had? Well, obviously it wasn't good enough. Because for all we know, somebody already was there working in the venue itself, had a weapon or some type of, whatever they used, if indeed he was shot or whatever. It wasn't vetted. So stop saying he had top security. Obviously he didn't.
From Hakeem Jeffries.
But we just saw a statement, obviously, from the highest-ranking Democrat there in the House. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with the former president. I am thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. America is a democracy. Political violence of any kind is never acceptable." I know you've been talking to John Carl and others about some of the other Democrats that, of course, been weighing in. This goes beyond partisan politics. People in Washington, of course, across the political spectrum, hoping and making sure that the former president president is okay, and congratulating law enforcement, like Hakeem Jeffrey said, for their sort of decisive response. I can tell you that here on the White House campus, Secret Service very tight-lipped, which is their standard posture. They don't talk to us about security protocol. That's a part of their protocol, to keep their plans to themselves. That's a part of how they keep presidents safe. The White House campus is not on lockdown. There are still tours going on, as is often the case on the weekends. I can tell you they've pushed back the perimeter at the White House.
Lolo, what are you talking about? Will this change his opinion on what? Change his opinion on what? Lolo. Hey, Gino. On guns. No, they won't change their opinion on guns. Sure won't. He'll still rally for guns. And that's the whole thing. It's that him throwing his fist up, to me, it's like, you don't take this serious. You could have been killed. So jumping up with your fist up, I mean, to me, that's just a person that has no common sense. It's the last thing I'm thinking of is throwing my fist up after somebody's shot my fucking ear. That's just me personally.
White House. There's not protesters or tourists walking on Pennsylvania Avenue, but that happens from time to time, and the Secret Service not confirmed that they did that in response to this incident, but I will tell you it happened right around the same time. The press that's traveling with the president in Delaware said that they noticed what seemed to them to be a heightened security protocol with the president at Delaware. In Delaware, he's at his residence there, Rehoboth Beach. That's to be expected. I would imagine there would be absolutely a heightened protocol, though the president is so guarded. But like I said, the Secret Service does not normally talk to us about their plans, how they work to keep the president safe. And at this point, they are being very tight-lipped about what happened. Yeah, that, again, unclear exactly what the heightened protocol is, but we definitely know that when an incident like this happens across the board, we see changes made to law enforcement and additional protections to some of the people who they deem might be vulnerable in a moment like this. Let's go back to Rachel Scott, who's still there in Pennsylvania. Rachel, I understand you've been speaking with people who are at the rally with you. Yeah, and these two Trump supporters are just making their way out. Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down.
Sounds. At first you think like maybe firecrackers, but it continued. It continued, and then somebody yelled, "Get down!" We got down, and we huddled, and we started praying. And we just started praying, and thank God, a little while later, we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying. We kept praying, but I got a birthday card to Trump right before his birthday's Flag Day, and right before I said I got a card to him. Security was going to give it to him here, and it in the card it said that George Washington.
So you kept praying, and what about you? How did you feel when you heard those sounds? What did you do?
I felt really bad. I'm worried about our grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
You told me that you were near the very front. You weren't very far.
No, we were like from here to where that thing is.
And you got down, you said you got down immediately?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody yelled, "Get down." My daughter-in-law, Lisa, she said for us to hurry up and get down. And she called her husband because he was standing right by the pole, and he got down also. You know, we were just, it's a scary situation when someone does something like that. When you don't have you don't, how can I say it? You have to have God in your heart to be able to have freedom and everything. But this is just sad for a lot of people. It was.
Well, we're happy you both are okay. Thank you for speaking with us. Please get home safe. And so that is just a little bit of the reaction and some of what we've been actually hearing from a lot of the Trump supporters. Those two people that I just talked to, one woman told me that she was here with her family. They were very close to the stage. She said that all she just heard were just get down, get down. And they said immediately they just started praying, hoping that everything was going to be okay. They were in the front. They are just now, it's been I believe it's been over a half an hour. They are just now being able to escort out of this area, partially because you had a lot of the elderly people who gather here, elderly Trump supporters who sat in those front rows are just sort of making their way out now, being escorted out. But everyone that I've been talking to, as they're leaving, they're still shaken up. They're asking us if we know what had happened. Everyone's checking on each other, asking if one another is okay. This is a crowd that's still visibly. I think that she made a really good point with, because at these rallies, the former president is not far away from the crowd. Donald Trump is someone who loves a big crowd. He loves these.
What do you say in the chat, Wanda? The Spectator went unalive in front of their family. So I have to do some research. I'm going to check out of here because I want to come back and drop the link, because this is just a live feed I'm doing from the YouTube app. And on this app, naturally, this isn't affiliated with StreamYard. So I'm going to end this broadcast and then come back on and drop the link to have a discussion. Of course, most people probably just sit and let me do all the talking as usual, but love to chat in the chat. And I'm going to say that it helps keep the continuity of the live stream by having the link so people can give their opinion. That's the only reason why I did it this way, because it just usually doesn't work. Some reason for the StreamYard. I don't know what the hell's the problem, but just can't even get it together. Well, they're giving their opinion. So I'm going to end this live stream right here, and I will be back once I do a little bit more research, and I'll come back and drop the link and have a discussion. I don't know if I should, because as I said, I don't want to be, I really don't want to be talking that much today, because I did a lot of talking yesterday for 2 live streams. But obviously something happened there at the rally. You can see in one portion of the video where he grabs his ear, Mr. Trump, before the Secret Service took him down to the ground. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop your comments below. Thank you for joining this network. Thank you for your support. And if you'd like to give to this network, $McAngie 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. I'll be back a little later once I do a little research on what exactly happened or the latest information, and then I'll drop the link, and somebody feel free to come up to give their opinion. You got a lot to talk about. Well, I don't really want to talk. That's the purpose of playing this feed, so people can hear what's being said. Because I be rude to talk over, the information at hand, because I don't know what's really going on. But from the video, it looks like he did get hit, and I would assume it would be with a gun, BB gun, something. Something hit him, because he grabbed his ear first, and then they took him down. So I don't think he got wounded from them taking him to the grounds. He got hit. So I want to do a little research and then drop the link. Thank you all so much for your time. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Please stay hydrated, because these people are out in that heat. I couldn't have done it. I'm not sitting out in the heat, winded. I don't care who's out there talking. They don't recommend being out in the heat. It's dangerous being out in the heat. I don't care what you're doing, but to each its own. So it is what it is. But that's the latest development coming out of Pennsylvania pertaining to former President Donald Trump. I will bring you an update here shortly, and then we will move from there. Thank you so much for joining me. You've been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.